Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's movie that we watched is the 1993 film Carnosaur. Now, Carnosaur holds a special place in my heart. It is a Roger Corman classic. If anything Roger Corman produces could be considered truly a classic. About a mad scientist who basically creates dinosaurs. Now, this came out about a week or two before Jurassic Park, clearly trying to cash in on that, and it's one of the earlier mockbusters that I know of. Those are quite common these days, where there's a science fiction or horror movie that comes out in theaters, and one of the various low-budget film studios puts out what they call a mockbuster, which basically either steals the name or premise and makes their own movie with it. Carnosaur, however, had very little to do with Jurassic Park in any reasonable fashion. It's not about a theme park. About the only thing that is similar is that a scientist is creating dinosaurs, although the reasons they're creating them are completely different. So let's get into the dinosaurs for a moment. There's two in this movie. There is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which we are all familiar with, and there's a Deinonychus. Now, you may ask what a Deinonychus is, or a Deinonychus. I'm not really 100% on which pronunciation is correct. I've pronounced it both ways over the years, so I'm going with Deinonychus. What is a Deinonychus? Okay. It is basically what you think of as a raptor when you think of a raptor, because before, I think like 96, 97, all velociraptors were very tiny. They were chicken-sized, maybe turkey-sized dinosaurs. Granted, they did have the toe claws that are seen in Jurassic Park, but they were not quite that big. I believe those were closer in size to the Deinonychus. So there you go. However, now species of velociraptor have been found. I believe the Utah raptor that are bigger. So. But that was found after Jurassic Park was both written and made. So, and they could have been cloning those guys and not known it. But it's my understanding that the actual Utah raptor is quite a bit bigger than the ones that we saw in the movie. So, who knows? They're carnivorous dinosaurs and they're doing things. All right, fair enough. So, let's start with this movie, and we're gonna get into it. And this is gonna take a while because Carnosaur, for a movie about a mad scientist creating dinosaurs, this movie's plot is anything but straightforward. You would think, like any B movie these days, oh, it's about a mad scientist who creates dinosaurs. Well, yes, but it's how that she creates them that is honestly pretty unique. I've not seen a movie quite handle this sort of premise with this sort of antagonist. So it's an interesting idea, and we'll get into it as we talk about the film, but we're going to start off right now. Now, this film starts off with some stock footage of a chicken factory. Some pretty horrifying when you really think about it. If you've seen any of the meat factories where they process and kill animals, that's pretty much what you're looking at. That's the opening credits. And there's like DNA sequencing that pops up and then forms the opening credits. Alright. Well, where do we go from there? Well, we go to Eunice with something happening at this Eunice... Or, sorry. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. There is a group of... a governmental group that are getting together to talk about this late Dr. Tiptree and where she is, because she is the mother of what they consider modern biowar, and she's a supremely gifted geneticist, and she's helped the military-industrial complex. She's helped eradicate various species of annoying insect. So they want to find where she is, because she's been missing for several years, and no one knows where she is except for the Eunice guy. And Eunice is like, so we've had her for a couple years. And they're like, well, why haven't we seen any patents? He's like, well, we gave her sequestered research because she asked for it. So there's nothing. Basically, we can't look into anything for 3 years or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, you should have said something because she's working. And oh, by the way, Eunice is a poultry company. Okay, hence why the chicken's in the opening. So that's interesting. Why would a bio, basically a bioweapon expert, be working at a chicken company building better chickens? It's a little weird, but okay. Cuts to Dr. Tiptree talking with some people about how they're basically looking for a hatchling, and they can't find it, and they ground all the poultry trucks, and one of them leaves, and of course the hatchling's on that one, and the security guard basically lets him go. He's like, "Come on, man, I gotta get these over there, and I'm already late." And he's like, "All right, fine. You left before that came down." And turns out, baby Deinonychus is on that. He starts killing all the chickens. The guy gets stopped, pulls the truck over, check out what's going on. Deinonychus comes out, kills him, eats him. You kind of half see it. Deinonychus is a puppet at this point. They use a variety of special effects in this film, from puppet to life-size animatronic thing. I'm guessing. I don't think any of this was a person in a suit at this point. I don't think. I mean, it could have been. I'm just not 100% positive. Baby Deinonychus kills him. You kind of see it in the reflection of like the off of, I believe it's like the hubcaps or something like that, like the rims, something that's relatively reflective and shiny off of the side of the car. And so he gets killed, and the Deinonychus runs off into the wilderness. Well, Tiptree contacts second in command guy, and I forget his name because I don't believe it's ever given. Anyway, second in command guy sends these two guys out to look for it. Only two guys. I don't know why. We'll get more into that in a moment. So, cuts back to this construction area where the two main characters are, Thrush and Doc. Now, Doc is a night security guard who is also an alcoholic, I'm guessing, or at the very least he gets drunk every night. And Thrush is an environmentalist who's working with a group of hippies slash environmental terrorists who are literally monkey wrenching this construction site because this used to be a dinosaur highway and they're plowing it over. I don't know why they're concerned about what dinosaurs were doing millions of years ago versus indigenous life forms now, but whatever. Okay, fine. So he captures Thrush. The other individuals, run off into the night, and he calls the police, and the police are investigating the trucker that got killed, and they're like, "Look, we'll send someone over when we get a chance, but we got a death over here, so yeah, just hang on to her." And shenanigans happen. Thrush runs off because Doc gets drunk and passes out, as alcoholics are wont to do. And the next day, he goes with the sheriff to go see if she's at the camp where apparently all the environmental terrorists live. They just have a camp that's like nearby in the same town. I don't know why. And he says she's there, but he says he doesn't see her. He's gonna handle his own way. They have a little intimate moment where they talk with each other, banter back and forth for a little bit. Meanwhile, second in command guy is talking on the phone. His daughter sneaks out and is going out with her boyfriend, I assume, and this other guy. And they're drinking and they're driving and they're going all over the place. And the extra guy gets out, needs to take a piss, takes a piss. Carnosaur comes up, little baby Deinonychus comes up, and is like, "Fuck out the way." Cuts the guy across the chest, fucks him up, falls over, crawls away. Deinonychus does not eat him because there are better things to do. It's got two more people in a car. So it jumps into the car, through the Jeep, as it were, cuts in through the roof, jumps in, rips them both apart, starts eating on them, covers them in chocolate, which is very amusing. And yeah, that's where that goes. So at this point, you'll have noticed something happening in the movie that I have yet to mention, but has been happening pretty much every scene throughout it. And that is these little green things pop up in the beginning of every scene, explaining cells per million infected, Aeon time minus a bunch of other factors, and I don't really get 100% what it's trying to apply. I'm guessing that it is a amount of infected tissue because there's a disease going around. And they felt they needed to update us periodically with the progress of that. I don't know what the Aeon minus equal means. The nearest I could figure is that is the timetable until the predicted the plague basically wipes out or spreads to the point where it can't be stopped. I think, but it's never, nothing is ever mentioned of that, and it is never explained. So unless you happen to be a microbiologist, you may not understand any of that stuff that's happening. So that pops up almost every scene. And when I first saw that, I was like, the hell is that? What does all this mean? I don't know. I'm confused. So that's a thing that's been going on. Cut back. So they're dead. Sheriff's investigating that. They find second in command guy finds out that his daughter's dead, and they won't show him the body, and he's gonna tell everybody basically what's going on. Tiptree doesn't want that to happen. Says, okay, so we have your daughter here. She's down in this area. You can go see her. And he's in the middle of grief, so he's like crazy. And he goes down this hallway, and it turns out, what do you think's at the end of a mad scientist's hallway? Well, it's the only thing it could be. It is a fully grown Tyrannosaurus Rex in a laser defense grid with a strobe light rave thing going on that keeps him in check. Okay, let me let that sink in for a moment. So there's a laser defense grid. There's a full-grown Tyrannosaurus, and there's some sort of strobe light thing that keeps him in check. Okay, that's all just in the basement. So Tiptree basically has a Rancor pit for no discernible reason. Also, how has no one noticed that there is a giant dinosaur in the basement? As far as I can tell, you could just walk into this place. You can just take the elevator and walk there. So does no one go down there? Looks like there's a lot of pipes that run around there. Looks like there's stuff that could be important to get to. But there's a dinosaur. Do you just feed all the people that do work down there to the dinosaur? I don't know. I don't honestly have answers for you. So she turns off the strobe light, and this apparently does not make the Tyrannosaurus happy. He goes nuts and kills the second in command guy and eats him, and yeah. Oh, and as a note, the lasers do cut off his hand as the Tyrannosaurus drags him off to be devoured. So that's a thing. I don't know how no one's noticed this yet, but that exists. So at this point, the hippies have decided, fuck it, we're going to tie ourselves to all of the gear. So they do. They chain themselves to all of the construction gear at Doc's thing. Doc's like comes out and he's got his gun and he's like, "What are you gonna do? Shoot us?" And he's like, "Nah, man. I'm gonna go get dinner, and then if you're still here when I get back, I'm gonna cut you out." Because Doc just doesn't give a single fuck at all. Like, he's just so checked out. He doesn't even care. He's like, "Look, you guys are trying to fuck with me. I'm not in charge of any of this stuff. I just kind of live in that house. So if you're going to fuck with me, I don't care. I'm going to go get drunk, and when I come back, I'm going to get you out. And then I'm going to call the cops and have them take you away." Because no one gives a single shit about this place. So that's all well and good. He goes to get dinner. He meets some other people that are, in the end, unimportant, including Clint Howard, because Clint Howard's in this movie. He amounts to absolutely nothing in terms of plot or importance, but he's in this movie. So anyway, so then the two guys that are looking for the Deinonychus get killed by the Deinonychus. All of the hippies get killed by the Deinonychus. He just comes over, and it's a kind of almost funny and / horrifying scene. He walks over, and the hippies are like, "Peace screen, brother," and he's like, "I fucking hate hippies," and eats all of them. Just rips them all apart. bites off one girl's leg, eats a guy's face, like literally eats his face. It's great. Thrush survives though because she's main character girl. And what is it? At that point, Doc gets back, sees the fucked up pile of bodies that are just outside his house, all chained up. This is no good. Finds the place where the two other guys were hunting the Deinonychus. Hears over the radio what the fuck's going on from Tiptree. Puts one of the bodies on a stretcher, brings it back. Meanwhile, at some point, the doctors checked out Thrush and then remanded her to Doc's custody, and then Doc put her in his bed. I don't know why that is, but that happened. And so now Doc is going to Eunice to go confront the mad scientist about the shenanigans. So he does, and he gets in. He sneaks in because she doesn't ask questions, really. Well, she asks questions, but he manages to basically bluff his way in. So, okay, he's in. He pulls a gun on her. He's like, talk, bitch. And she explains her whole plot and how she made a disease, a virus, if you will, that will infect everybody, and it will make all the women give birth to dinosaurs and then kill them. I want that to sink in. She created a virus that impregnates you and gives you a dinosaur baby and then kills you with it. That is some hardcore bullshit right there. That is perhaps the single best. Screw zombie viruses, the Carnosaur virus. We'll call it the C virus. It's the new thing. Why can't Resident Evil be about this? Just military applications of dinosaur virus. That'd be fucking awesome. But no, like that's what she did, and apparently it's effective because we see this in action. So at this point, the government is getting involved because they figured out what's going on, at least peripherally. And they've started deploying the containment to this whole shenanigans. And they are just not taking any risks. They are literally shooting everyone they find and burning their bodies. And they all have like these environmental suits. So that's a thing. They literally don't ask any questions. They just shoot people down and burn them immediately. So that's a thing. So Tiptree explains that. Her secretary dies, gives birth to an egg. Doc asks for the raw viral serum. He gets it. He runs off. Tiptree lures him into her rancor pit. He shoots out the lasers, because apparently you can do that. Runs off. Tyrannosaurus follows him. Don't know why I couldn't run back down to that little narrow hallway that he was in, but apparently he can't. He evades the Tyrannosaurus. Tyrannosaurus busts out. And he runs out of the building as the Tyrannosaurus is busting down the wall, and goes back to his house. Cut to some more government things. He hears the word of some truckers on his radio. Gets back to his house. Injects. Oh, sorry, I forgot one little point. So back to the sheriff. His wife and daughters are dying of the plague. He doesn't know that they give birth to dinosaurs, but they're really sick. They have like 100+ degree fever, and it's a problem. So he hears a ruckus happening in the center of town, because apparently he lives next to it. So he goes out to check it out. Turns out the Deinonychus has decided to eat all the puppies in the pet store. So that's a problem. And he's got like a shotgun, and the Deinonychus comes flying at him, and he shoots him down with the shotgun. Deinonychus falls. He goes over to stand over it to take him out. The second shot, or double tap, if you will. And the Deinonychus stabs him through the chest with his scythe claw. The sheriff then blows off the Deinonychus' head, just with his shotgun, just boom, dead. So they both die. Presumably the wife and children are dead. There's another couple that the wife gets taken into custody, and the husband gets shot and burned, and the wife gives birth to a dinosaur, or an egg, and all of them are standing over her, looking at it, funny. And then she's dead, he's dead. Like, a lot of people die in this film. And oddly enough, not that many at the hands of the Carnosaurs. So, Now we got a Tyrannosaurus just rampaging across the countryside because you turned off his rave and he's pissed. Well, where would a wayward Tyrannosaurus go? It'd go to the dinosaur highway, of course, because as we all know, genetically manipulated and engineered dinosaurs have genetic memories from when they were actually dinosaurs of where to go. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it would just as likely have a genetic memory of any of the other parts of it, which I presume some of its DNA is chicken DNA because they were usually hatched out chicken eggs. I don't know. So, that's a thing, certainly. A little weird, but okay. And, yeah, so it's at this point that Doc has to face down with the Tyrannosaurus, which is literally stomping around outside his house. Oh, and he's injected the raw viral serum into Thrush in hopes that it'll have some effect. Problem with antiviruses is I believe you need to take them before you get sick, but so your body can process them and create antibodies, not while you're sick. But whatever. The science here isn't exactly, the most the most authentic I've ever seen. So it's at this point that he gets into the anti-dinosaur weapon, which is a skid steer, also known as a bobcat, if you've ever seen a bobcat, and faces down with the Tyrannosaurus. Apparently, Tyrannosaurus is very powerful, but he is not capable of fighting off the bobcat. And Thrush gets into one too, although she's barely able to do anything because she's just completely losing herself to the fever. And they kill the Tyrannosaurus, and he's lying dying. And they go back to their room, and he radios for help. And the government comes in. They shoot him. They shoot Thrush. They burn everything. You see the vial of raw virus serum bursting in the heat. His mad poster. He has a Mad poster of the signature character for Mad with the redhead with the funny face. That burns, and it burns from top to bottom, and then we get reverse credits, and that is Carnosaur. Now, this film is a really, really strange one. I don't know if they just didn't know what was going on with Jurassic Park. I have to think that they did. The book came out many years before. I remember reading the book back in, I think, the late 80s. I was a little young to read the book at the time. It was the most crazy book I'd read, but it was about dinosaurs, and I was a big dinosaur fan, so you know what? It's not the worst. I remember one of my other buddies had read it, but he was a big reader at the time, so it's all fair. I've never been a huge reader myself, so it's always been arduous for me reading anything. Well, Jurassic Park was it was interesting, but this movie definitely trying to play on the coattails of Jurassic Park, and this came out a couple weeks before it. Funny story though, Diane Ladd, who plays Tiptree, is actually Laura Dern's mother, which I think is kind of funny that they managed to do that. There's a tie in there, and if you don't know, Laura Dern is Ellie Sattler in Jurassic Park, so that's kind of funny. It's a funny tie-in. That being said, this movie, I'm not really going to recommend it. I love it, but again, I would say only watch it if you have a group to watch it with. It's a little confusing. It's a little hard to understand if you don't know what's going on. It's kind of it's almost a not as bad version of David Lynch's Dune. That's another classic movie that I love that I know a lot of people can't stand because what the fuck just happened in that movie? I don't know. This one is not as confusing as that, but it is still pretty confusing, all things said and done. The science is all over the place. Nothing is explained. Dinosaurs are bursting out of people. It's not like we can just clone dinosaurs. It's no, they have to bust out. So there's a host of problems that just keep happening. And so in the end, watch it if you got a group, or if you're really interested into this sort of movie, or you're a big fan of Roger Corman. But if you're not any of those things, I'd say stay away from it. It's okay, but again, it's a matter of it's a little too obtuse to really figure out on your own without someone there to guide you through this madness. All right, good night, folks.